the actual blurb is quite fitting, mate. It's a nice little hook for us to launch into your first point here. Is most business owners started their company because they wanted more freedom to work on their own schedules, make the kind of money they deserve, and eventually retire on the fruits of their labor. Unfortunately, according to John, most owners find that stepping out of the picture is extremely difficult because their business relies too heavily on their personal involvement. Without them, their company, no matter how big or profitable, is essentially worthless.
Absolutely. That seems to be very much true. So I guess the opening point of his company, his book, apologies, the opening point of his book is really that you want to build a business to sell, even if you don't intend to sell your company. And, from personal experience, I can say that this is a very, very insightful point. Because, as you said in that blurb, I think that building a company, it can easily be a trap. It can be a job you can't quit, and it can make you more bound to your job than even if you work for someone else, because you can't kind of let it go when you go home. There's no one else there to do it. It's just you. And the company you likely work for has kind of gone through this sort of evolution and gotten big enough to have some sort of system in place to mean that you can step away. And so a lot of the idea of this book is kind of setting up the way that a small, medium business does run, where it just relies entirely on the owner.
Yeah, and it's almost like an intertwining between the ego of the owner and the actual identity of the business type thing. And somehow, untwirling a little bit of that, in that you don't need to be across absolutely every nook and cranny of what's going on and deliver every single service in that the business is offering. Right?
Yeah, for me, it's like deep. It's even deeper than that. It's sort of like, if you've started a company, you've likely had a thought about your life where you're like, I want something a little bit different. I want either that freedom, or I want to pursue this thing. I don't want to have a boss. So it's something to do with bringing a new type of work that fits with your life. But once you start something, it's very difficult. That can somewhat become all-consuming, and running the business is sort of all you think about when you go to sleep and wake up and all that sort of thing. And suddenly the rest of your life kind of drops away if you're not careful. So you need to design your business and your life at the same time. And it's very hard to do, I think. And so I guess now I've run the company I'm part owner in for 6 years. And I've started describing it as like starting a business is a little bit like going for a hike,
Tell us about a hike, Lach.
Well, you put your pack on and you pick to go out somewhere, and depending what trail you pick, it's going to be either really difficult or really easy or somewhere in the middle. So you're picking your environment, and if you're well trained and well prepared and fit, it's going to be relatively comfortable if the track's fairly comfortable. And so there's an element of preparation that's involved. And I've been on some hikes where I haven't trained at all, and it is absolutely brutal. And once you're out there, there ain't no chopper coming to pick you up. If you've picked something that's a bit harder, a bit difficult, you've got to slog through that. And then on top of that, there's the weather and all the unexpected things that can happen. So you might go hiking and it's just absolutely pouring rain, and it's an absolute misery, as everything gets wet and your tent, and you're like, oh, geez. But you see those people who've done a heap of hiking before and they're kind of strolling through it, no worries, And so the point being that it's kind of a combination of luck, the environment you pick, and your level of preparedness and willingness to kind of stick it out at the same time. That means, how is this actually going to improve my life, or is it going to be something that I kind of wish I'd never done, or am I just going to get lost in the woods?